Well, Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, as you may know, is kind of a base for the whole of the Yogacara tradition. And in Yogacara tradition we have kind of two traditions. One is based on the Alaya, the other is based on what you may call the consciousness, the super mundane consciousness. So mundane consciousness and super mundane consciousness. The super mundane consciousness links us to the Buddha nature, as you call it. And in Chinese tradition there is a very important text which I have translated into Czech also, which is attributed to Ashwagosha, the Mahayana Shranutpada Shastra, the awakening of faith in Mahayana. And this is very interesting text for this tathāgatagarbha tradition. And in China it is like the most widely studied text, especially in the Zen tradition. You may say that Zen tradition is also the tathāgatagarbha tradition. You may also say that most of Chinese tradition is connected to the idea of tathāgatagarbha. But from the point of view of Theravada, of course, you may find roots for Madhyamika, for Yogacara, but you will hardly find anything on the tathāgatagarbha. That's for sure. So the Chinese Buddhists may not find any difficulty in accepting the tathāgatagarbha idea, but you will find difficulty in convincing the Theravada Buddhists that this teaching is to be traced back to the Buddha himself.
Is that because it's not found in the Nikayas? It's not.
You don't find any clear indication of that in the Nikaya. Maybe only in the Vinaya. There is a famous story that Buddha, after his enlightenment, he sees all the beings as lotus flowers deeply merged in the mud. This story is there in the Vinaya, and this may be also the root for this tradition. What else are these lotus flowers and the tathāgatagarbha, of course?
Right. Yeah. Do you find it an interesting idea, the idea of Buddha nature or tathāgatagarbha?
Well, if as taught in the Lankavatara Sutra, if you consider it to be a skillful means, then no one should have any problem with that. But if you consider it to be like the definitive truth of Buddhism as the say substance, then I will have difficulty with that.
Right. Because it contradicts the teachings on emptiness, or could you explain that a little more?
Well, if you study Buddhism, you are not likely to accept the idea of any essence whatsoever. Finally, it is the same in Madhyamika, Yogacara. However you explain the basic idea of Buddhism is the essencelessness. And learning Buddhism is learning essencelessness. Essencelessness is selflessness. And normally, however you explain Buddhism, the principal idea of all genuine traditions is the selflessness. Where you find selflessness, there is Buddhism. If you talk about the self, then it is suspicious. But you can, of course, ground it. You can make the explanation like Lankavatara Sutra, that it is skillful means. Then we have no problem with that, of course. Because the Indian tradition of the Upanishads and so on is definitely concerned with the searching for the self. And in Buddhism, even in Dhammapada, you find verses that the meaning of Buddhism is searching for the true self. It is there. The self is the master of the self. Where else would you find the self? The famous verses of Dhammapada. You can explain it in this way. There is a very important sutra for the Yogacara tradition also, the great Mahayana Nirvana Sutra, Tapanye Panchik. It also teaches the permanence, happiness, self, and purity, the exact opposites. But it does not teach directly the tathāgatagarbha idea.
Right. But that teaching you would accept as, I don't want to get absurdly technical, but do you accept that text as one of the texts that teaches?
It is very important text for the Yogacara tradition. The main disciple of Xuanzang, Guiji, he advises all to read the Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra and the Great Nirvana Sutra.
Right.
They are the two sutras which are, say, especially to be studied for understanding Yogacara.
Yeah. And those two seem to have some links with, or at least in other traditions, they point to those sutras as being sources for tathāgatagarbha teachings.
Indirectly, yes, but not directly.
Not directly, yeah. Interesting.